Senate Bills number 29 of 2024 be now read a second time. You may now proceed to vote.
But the question is correct. Start. Election offenses amendment.
Senator Fernandi, move to the dispatch and get assisted, please. Senator Maruma, kindly wake up Senator Lominen and ask him to come to dispatch. That was a long prayer, Mr. Lominen. Oh. Honorable Senators, the result of the division is as follows. Ayes at 33, nays 0, abstention 0. So the ayes have it.
The Election Offences Amendment Number 2 Bill 2024, a bill for an Act of Parliament to amend the Election Offences Act.
Sergeant at times, you may now open the door and withdraw the bar. Now, Honorable Senators, before we resume debate on order number 11, allow me to make the following communication. Now, Honorable Senators, at the sitting of the Senate held on Wednesday, the 9th of October 2024, Senator Fatuma Dulo brought it to the attention of this House that the Governor of Isiolo, Honorable Abdi Ibrahim Hassan, had on several occasions failed to appear before various committees of the Senate in response to either an invitation to appear or summons. Indeed, the following instances serve as an illustration of the instances where the Governor, without justifiable reason, has failed to appear. A, invitation by the County Public Accounts Committee, where the Governor had been invited severally but had declined to appear. Thus, summons dated the 12th of April 2024 were issued by the committee. B, invitation by the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare, where the Governor had been invited severally but has declined to appear. Thus, a summons was issued. C, invitation by the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget, where the Governor had failed to respond to committee's requests for information, and thus summons dated the 31st of July 2024 were issued by the committee. The Governor failed to appear in response to the summons, and the committee issued further summons dated the 30th of September 2024. D, invitation by the County Public Investments and Special Funds Committee, where the Governor appeared and used demeaning language and insulted members of that particular committee. E, the Governor failed to appear before the Standing Committee on Health pursuant to summons dated 21st of May 2024. The Governor obtained conservatory orders prohibiting the Director of Public Prosecutions from implementing the resolution of the committee to have the Governor prosecuted for breach of Section 27(1)A of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges. F, invitation by the Standing Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration, where the Governor has declined to appear before the committee. And finally, an invitation by the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations, where the Governor did not appear. Now, Honorable Senators, it would be prudent to consider the issues raised by Senator Dulo in the context of the law and judicial pronouncements that govern the issuance of summons by Parliament or its committees. Article 125 of the Constitution provides as follows. Either House of Parliament and any of its committees has power to summon any person to appear before it for the purpose of giving evidence or providing information. For the purposes of Clause 1, a House of Parliament and any of its committees has the same powers as that of the High Court to do the following: to enforce the attendance of witnesses and examine them on oath, affirmation, or otherwise. B, to compel the production of documents, and C, to issue a commission or request to examine witnesses abroad. To give further effect to the powers under Article 125 of the Constitution, Section 18(1) of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act provides that Parliament or its committees may invite or summon any person to appear before it for the purpose of giving evidence or providing any information, paper, book, record, or document in the possession or under the control of that person. And in this respect, Parliament and its committees shall have the same powers as the High Court as specified under Article 125 of the Constitution. 17 of the Act provide as follows. Where a witness summoned does not appear or appears but fails to satisfy the relevant House of Parliament or committee, may impose upon the witness such fine, not have regard to the witness' condition in life circumstances of the case. 2, a person may pay the fine under subsection 1 to the clerk of the relevant house. And 3, Parliament or its committee may order the arrest of a person who fails to honor a summons. Additionally, Section 27(1)(a) of the Act provides that a person commits an offense where the person, having been duly summoned in terms of Section 18, fails without sufficient cause to attend at the time and place specified in the summons, or remain in attendance until excused from further attendance by the person presiding at the inquiry. Now, under Section 27(2), a person who commits an offense under subsection 1 is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 200,000 shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months or both. Honorable Senators, the exercise of the powers under Article 125 of the Constitution by Parliament has been the subject of judicial consideration. For instance, in International Legal Consultants Group versus the Senate, 2014 EKLR, the court held inter alia, it is not in doubt that the Senate is conferred with the powers to summon any person to appear before it to give evidence or to provide information within its constitutional and statutory mandate. The powers to summon by the committees are equivalent to those of the High Court. In the same decision, the court found that the constitutional power to summon must be respected by all public officials at all times. The court further stated that summons should be a remedy of the last resort after attempts, consultation, or mediation have failed, and where it is clear that a county governor and all county officials have declined an invitation by the Senate or its committees to answer to matters oversight of county funds. Honorable Senators, from the foregoing, we may observe that Article 125 of the Constitution, as read together with Section 18(1) of the Powers and Privileges Act, Parliament and its committees have the power to summon any person to appear before it for the purpose of giving evidence or any information. In this respect, Parliament has the same powers as the High Court to enforce the attendance of witnesses and examine them on oath, affirmation, or otherwise. Although the courts have held that the power to summon under Article 125 of the Constitution should not be exercised in an arbitrary or capricious manner and should be preceded by attempts at consultation and mediation, it is clear that the various committees of the Senate have made several attempts to invite the governor to appear before issuing the summons. In both instances, the governor has failed to appear in a clear disregard of the Senate's power under the Constitution. This conduct with the governor not only undermines the rule of law, but obstructs the Senate from discharging its role as the protector of counties under Article 96(1) of the Constitution and the primary organ of oversight on the use of public funds by county governments under Article 96(3) of the Constitution. This is not acceptable. It cannot be allowed to continue. Honorable Senators, in light of this, I therefore guide all committees which had issued summons to the governor of Isiolo to appear, and in which the governor failed to appear, to liaise with the Inspector of Police as a matter of urgency and require the Inspector General of Police to produce the governor before the respective committees at a determined date and time. This is not a favor. This is not a favor that the Senate or its committees are asking of the Inspector General of Police. The defiance displayed by the governor of Isiolo in respect to invitations and summons of the Senate cannot persist. The Inspector General of Police must, in exercise of his mandate pursuant to Article 245(2)(b) of the Constitution, extend the necessary support to the committees in order to secure the appearance of the governor. It is also expected that if recourse to the courts becomes necessary, such action will robustly be pursued in courts as well. It is also open to the Honorable Senator for Isiolo, and indeed any other senator, to use the legislative mechanisms available and our standing orders, including a censure motion, to deal with the errant conduct of the governor of Isiolo. I thank you. Well, allow limited comments on this communication, starting with Senator Olekina.
Mr. Speaker, let me first of all acknowledge the good work that Senator Dulo has been doing for the people of Isiolo. Mr. Speaker, if it wasn't for her diligence in ensuring that those people get their services, those hospitals are open, which are now shut, that the people get services, we would not be discussing this matter. This is unprecedented, Mr. Speaker. This is the first time that your chair has actually almost censured a sitting governor. This House protects devolution. This House, the framers of the Constitution, gave it powers to be able to ensure accountability, a fiduciary responsibility on those who are given that responsibility by the citizens. Mr. Speaker, I sit in the Public Accounts Investment Committee, and it is quite sad because our job is very simple: to ensure that we take these governors to task and ensuring that they use the resources wisely. I've listened to your communication, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I don't intend to vary your communication. It's well thought out, but I think we've got the powers in this House. Article 125, our Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, Section 19 and 18, gives us that power. We have penalized this, or we have fined this governor, I think twice now. That's $1 million shillings. We want to know whether that person, whether he has paid that to the clerk of the House. Mr. Speaker, we have a police station which is domiciled in the presence of Parliament. Why can't we authorize that? I know the law does not allow us to direct the Inspector General of Police. But I believe that the powers given to us by the Constitution, Article 125, where we sit like a high court. We can be able to compel that witness to appear. Mr. Speaker, in the last Parliament, we worked closely with the Ministry of Finance, and we were able to stop certain funds from going to a particular county. I think, Mr. Speaker, with your position and the powers given to this House, we can be able to take the same direction. I think Article 255, or is it 225, lays out the procedure on which the Cabinet Secretary can stop funds. But this time around, we have got to think out of the box. We've got to be unorthodox in our thinking in order to be able to defend devolution. We have to find a way to stop those funds, and whoever is protecting this individual, because he boasts around and he says the way is untouchable, must also take judicial notice that in this country, in this Senate, we will demand accountability. The only way, Mr. Speaker, that we can be able to ensure the people of Isiolo gets their services is if we all suspend any other discussion today, any other business, and we deal with this matter. We can censure that governor, even if he's not sitting here. Mr. Speaker, we talk about separation of powers between the three arms of government. I believe, with the spirit of cooperation, that we can be able to engage these other two arms of government, the executive and the judiciary, to be able to come up with a methodology in which we can be able to demand that this individual is brought to this House, this individual is penalized, and the people of Isiolo can be able to get their services. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, I was watching a video of a young lady in Isiolo who was taken to the hospital. She was in ICU for 25 days. And she had to be told, go home, because the hospital is closed. Seriously? We can sit here as senators and allow devolution to die? Allow people to be able to thumb chest and say that they are untouchable? I think it's about time that we remind these governors that power is transient. Today you are so powerful, tomorrow you are nothing. You know, literally nothing. Mr. Speaker, to use a Swahili word, hii ni dhuluma. You know, this guy is really, I don't even know what to say. You know, he's so drunk with power. He's humiliating his citizens. He was not elected to be able to go there and make people suffer. We must remind these people that power is transient. And this Senate is powerful. We've been reminded so many days that we are powerful. We're going to be sitting here tomorrow discussing the issue of impeachment of a deputy president. And you still say that we don't have power? Mr. Speaker, let us use this police station, which is domiciled in Parliament. We should not just see police here sitting, trying to protect Parliament. The only way you can be able to protect devolution is by making sure that you call these people to account. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to request the Inspector General of Police, who I believe is a fine gentleman, who I believe is someone who is committed to ensure that there is discipline in this country, to expeditiously, go and make sure that that governor is taken to jail. Because you cannot violate Section 19 of the Public or the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act. You cannot violate summons from this Senate and you continue there. And yet this is the same Senate which is fighting for you to get money. Seriously. That is completely ludicrous. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope that everyone here today, let us not talk about anything else. Let us censure this person and make sure that we use all the powers that we have to make sure that the people of Isiolo get what is rightfully theirs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wamatenga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I also like to support the motion and the communication you've just made. Mr. Speaker, sir, indeed a very sad affair that we are chosen and elected by electorate.
What is so disorderly about Senator Wamatenga Majority Leader?
Apologies to Senator Wamatenga, Mr. Speaker, but I just wanted to request if you could guide, given that this is a matter that I know many senators will want to speak to, if we could provide guidance on time so that we get as many of our colleagues a chance to speak to it.
Okay, honorable senators, we need not to go on a vote on this. We can agree on a consensus. 3 minutes. 3 minutes? 3 minutes it is. Senator Wamatenga, your time starts running from now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving this opportunity. Indeed, when we campaign in this country, we promise all kinds of good things to our electorate. It is very unfortunate that some of us get in the office and they forget the very same things that we promised. Mr. Speaker, sir, I've heard from my neighbor here, the senator from Marsabit, his frustration with the governor for Isiolo. He has issued many invitations, but he has ordered none of them. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are elected as leaders to sit down and listen together. At times, the issues that we invite governors and other officials to appear before our committees are not intended to serve our own interest, but the interest of the community and the society. Speaker, sir, it is indeed quite important that when we are addressing such issues, we put mechanism in place to ensure that such persons who do not honor the invitations of committees, who even do not honor the summons, and that has happened quite a number of times, Mr. Speaker, and some of them are known to be quite extreme because they perceive themselves to be demigods. It is imperative that this House acts and behaves as in such a way to show such leaders that they are not demigods. Mr. Speaker, sir, the minute that we realize we've been elected to serve Kenyans, that is the time that we'll embrace servant leadership. It is quite unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, that a governor who's been elected by the electorate of Isiolo and who had promised to deliver cannot even honor a sit down with the senator. And this, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is the only way to ensure that we deliver a service to our people through collaborative, participatory approach that requires the leaders to sit down together, reason together, and come up with an amicable working solution that addresses the issue of our people. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a House, we can only be able to execute our mandate of oversight if we put instruments in place that will ensure that we do not remain toothless. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is quite unfortunate and very, very sad that in the 21st century, somebody who platformed on the premise that he is going to deliver services cannot appear before this House, not that he's being asked personal questions, but questions that have to do with the way he's pushing the issues of Isiolo, governance issue, accountability and transparency. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is the high time that we show the world and the whole country that we as senators of this country, we mean business and we want to ensure that services are delivered to them. And the only way to do that, Mr. Speaker, sir, is to bite and bite very hard. Mr. Speaker, sir, we didn't say that we can tell or request the IG to bring such a person and any other person before the committee. We must do it, Mr. Speaker, because if we fail to do that, Mr. Speaker, the law of this House that has been given to us by the Constitution of Kenya will remain unexecuted because we have arrogant people.
Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is very unfortunate sitting here and listening to the level of impunity by a governor who has refused to attend several committee invitations. Mr. Speaker, this particular governor appeared before my committee, and the kind of conduct he exhibited when he appeared before my committee, it was the most unbecoming conduct from a governor. He almost exchanged with some of the members who are asking valid questions on matters to do with governance in Isiolo County. Mr. Speaker, you remember that in this House I sponsored a bill, an amendment to the Powers and Privileges Act, where I said that we need to enhance the fine from 500,000 to 2 million shillings, and also put in provisions on how the arrest can be executed. That bill was passed by this House, and that bill is lying in the National Assembly. Maybe at this point we would wish the National Assembly to speed up the passage of that bill so that we can deal with matters like this of Isiolo. Mr. Speaker, I think some governors take it like a crime if we invite them to appear before Senate. They think that we are punishing them. Mr. Speaker, we are simply doing our oversight role as per Article 96 of the Constitution. So I want to thank those governors who have honored our invitation in our various committees and appeared and answered questions affecting their counties. But there are others who, when invited, Mr. Speaker, they try and use all manner of excuses not to appear. That is against devolution, which this House, under Article 96, exists to protect. I think, as Senator Ldama said, I think it's a high time we have a censure motion on some of these governors. It should go beyond your communication, Mr. Speaker, so that we have a censure motion to discuss the conduct of these governors and any other governor who will run away from a summon. Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks ago, we summoned the former governor of Kitui, Honorable Charity Ngilu, over the matter of Kikotek, where millions of money was embezzled, Mr. Speaker, and the governor did not even respond to our request.
The Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I will not finish the 3 minutes. There's just one thing I want to say. Your communication is very well reasoned. The only thing I expect, Mr. Speaker, and that your ruling fell short of, and I want to believe it is out of the abundance of caution, not to be taken to be usurping the powers that belong to the chairpersons of our committee, is that you should actually have ordered the Inspector General of Police to search and produce the governor, wherever he is, if he's in Isiolo, Dubai, whichever part of the world he's in, Mr. Speaker, until he's produced here before the Senate. But given that this is a matter that is presently before various committees, then I agree with your wisdom, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, I expect that at the next sitting of any of these committees that the governor has defied, the chairperson alongside the members will draft the summons and ask the Inspector General of Police to produce that that governor and ensure that he is in safe custody until the next sitting of that particular committee. We have a very good police station here at Parliament, Mr. Speaker. It is for dealing with errant members of society, which include even governors who fail to honor summons, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, I want to see a 4-1, Mr. Speaker, that Senate Committee of XYZ orders the Inspector General of Police to arrest, detain, and produce before the next sitting of the Committee of XYZ Governor Guyo for failure to honor summons before, until he learns to respect Parliament. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to associate myself with the comments by the majority leader, but with some amendment. The Speaker, a lot will be said by senators here. But you see, Mr. Speaker, what this governor has done is that he has disobeyed invitations and summons by various committees, requiring that each committee then contacts the Inspector General of Police to produce the governor before them. The Speaker, that may be a bit of a tall order. My thing is, the Speaker, would be, if it were possible, there are two options. One, either a motion is brought before this House, so the House passes a resolution requiring the Inspector General of Police to arrest and produce the governor, or alternatively, Mr. Speaker, the chairman of the liaison committee, where all the chairmen of committees sit, takes up the matter with the Inspector General of Police to require on behalf of the Senate, Mr. Speaker. Because what is happening, Mr. Speaker? What is happening is that the governor of Isiolo has shown contempt of the first degree, not against the committees, but against the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. Secondly, as you have heard from Senator Otsosi, you know, once that example is set, then it becomes very popular with other governors. And at the end of the day, what will happen is that then governors will be asked to appear before Senate. They will decide whether to come or not to come. Mr. Speaker, let this Senate, in this case, ensure that the governor of Isiolo is physically arrested and locked up in the cells in the Senate police station and produced before a plenary sitting of the Senate, the Speaker, so that he may serve as an example to other governors who are also wayward, who have no respect, who don't honor summons and invitations by committees of the Senate. Well, Mr. Speaker, Article 125 of the Constitution is very clear, 125 2A, that a House of Parliament or any of its committees can enforce the...
Senator Mgatana.
Mr. Speaker, actually my note was on Order 11, so I will pass.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I do appreciate and congratulate you for that communication. And my contribution is just in two parts, Mr. Speaker, to request governors to remember or to realize that devolution did not just happen in this country. Men and women of this republic made sacrifices, people lost their limbs, people lost their properties, people lost their lives. My second comment, Mr. Speaker, is, well, as I agree with you on the how, but I just wanted to draw your attention, Mr. Speaker, to the Constitution of Kenya, Article 245, which establishes the National Police Service, Mr. Speaker. And in this article,
there is part 4, which, Mr. Speaker, says that the Cabinet Secretary responsible for police services may lawfully give a direction to the Inspector General with respect to any matter of policy for the national state, but no person may give direction to the Inspector General in respect of investigation, and enforcement matters, Mr. Speaker. I was thinking maybe we should have taken the right route, namely ask the Cabinet Secretary to do what the Constitution gives them in the section that I've read. Failing which, Mr. Speaker, we shall have contravened subsection 4, which does not allow any other person other than the Cabinet Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I support your communication.
Honorable Boni, read the powers of the High Court. Those are the powers that are in your hands. Senator for Kilifi.
Asante mstahiki Spika. Mstahiki Spika, kitu cha kwanza nataka kumsifu dada yetu Fatma Dulo, seneta wa Isiolo, kwa kuleta malalamishi kama haya mbele ya bunge la Senate. Bwana Spika, ni jambo la kusikitisha sana kuona gavana ambaye ameitwa katika bunge la Senate aje, ama gavana ambaye ameitwa na kamati ya Senate aje ajitokeze na akose kufika. Bwana Spika, ni jambo pia vile vile la kusikitisha kwamba yeye kama kiongozi wa gatuzi la Isiolo ni lazima azingatie sheria na ajue kwamba bunge la Senate ndio linalomshughulikia na kumtafutia pesa ili aweze kutumia kufanya maendeleo ndani ya Isiolo. Bwana Spika, kitu kingine ni kwamba ule uamuzi ambao umechukuliwa hivi sasa, Bwana Spika, katika ulivyochukua huo uamuzi wa kwamba yeye aweze kuitwa tena mbele ya kamati na kupitia kwa mkuu wa polisi, hilo ni jambo zuri, kwa sababu kuanzia hivi sasa kutakuwa na heshima itakayopeanwa na kwa watu kwa maseneta wetu na kuheshimu bunge la Senate, ya kwamba usipokwenda tunaweza kutumia nguvu zetu hapa ndani ya bunge la Senate na tukamwambia mkuu wa polisi uweze kukamatwa na uletwe mbele ya Senate ama kamati ya Senate ili uweze kujibu yale maswali, na tutafanya hivyo tukitumia njia hiyo, na ni kwamba itakuvunjia heshima wewe kama gavana. Manake ukija ukishikwa utatiwa ndani korokoroni, alafu siku ya pili ama baada hiyo weekend ikimalizika utapelekwa katika kamati ya Senate ili uweze kujibu ni kwa nini hawezi kuja. Na hili hatutaki uhusiano kama huo uweze kujitokeza wakati ambapo inatakana serikali ya ugatuzi. Hivi sasa tunawapigania pesa wapate, na hatutaki zipunguzwe, na wao wanafanya tabia kama hizo, na sisi tunaona hiyo si jambo zuri. La mwisho, Bwana Spika, mimi nasema Gavana Guyo aelewe ya kwamba moja wapo katika serikali ya ugatuzi ni Isiolo, na Isiolo si kipochi chake, wala pia vile vile Isiolo si nyumba yake. Aelewe kwamba Isiolo ni gatuzi la watu wa Isiolo, na akiitwa na Isiolo ama akiitwa na kamati ya Senate aweze kujua ya kwamba ni lazima aje afike. Asipofanya hivyo hatua itachukuliwa. Asante sana Bwana Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Honorable Senators, we seem to have a problem with with our system. If there are any other senators wishing to contribute to the motion, to the allegations, yes. Very well. By show of hand, we'll start with Commissioner.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii. Kwanza kabisa nataka kumshukuru seneta wa kutoka Isiolo, Seneta Fatuma Duro, kwa swali ambalo aliuliza ndiposa tuweze kupata mwelekeo. na tayari Bwana Spika tumepata mwelekeo, na nataka kumshukuru seneta kwa sababu yeye amekuwa mzoefu na amekuwa kwa muda mrefu katika seneti hii, na maswali ambayo ameuliza Bwana Spika ni swali nzuri kabisa, kwa sababu Gavana Guyo, kile ambacho amehitajika ni yeye kuja hapa katika seneti hii ama kamati ya seneti hii kujibu maswali Bwana Spika. Si maswali ya seneta, ni maswali ambayo watu wa Isiolo wangetaka huduma Bwana Spika, na hiyo ndio maswali ambayo yanaulizwa. Bwana Spika, imenivunja moyo sana kusikia kwamba gavana anakuja katika kamati na hakuna jambo anafanya ila kuleta madharau katika kamati Bwana Spika. Nimemsikiza seneta wa Vihiga, Seneta Ostosi, ambaye ni mwenyekiti wa kamati, akisema ya kwamba yule gavana hata baada ya kufika katika ile kamati ni kuonyesha dharau Bwana Spika, ni kama hawafai. Ilhari maseneta hata siku ya leo Bwana Spika tumekuwa tukisema ya kwamba pesa ambazo zinakwenda katika kaunti zetu ni mpaka ziongezeke Bwana Spika. Nilimsikiza Seneta Dulo akiuliza inawezekanaje sisi tunapigania pesa ziende katika gatuzi ya Isiolo, lakini gavana mwenyewe hawezi kuja kujibu maswali Bwana Spika. Nataka kusema ya kwamba uamuzi ambao umetolewa na Spika siku ya leo na kubaliana nao 100% Bwana Spika, na umetoa mwongozo ndio hata magavana wengine ambao wako na zile nia ama zile tabia Bwana Spika waweze kupata funzo Bwana Spika. Na Bwana Spika, sisi vile tunavyofanya katika seneti hii ni kuwakilisha wananchi wa Kenya Bwana Spika katika gatuzi ambazo tumechaguliwa. Bwana Spika, sioni jambo lolote ya kwamba gavana anaogopa kuja kujibu maswali, kwa sababu maswali ambayo anaulizwa ni maswali kuhusu utendaji kazi wake katika kaunti yake Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, asipokuja inaonekana ni madharau, na nataka kubaliana na Spika vile alivyosema atafutwe mahali alipo Bwana Spika, na wakati wote kamati itakapokuwa ikiketi Bwana Spika aweze kutolewa Bwana Spika, kwa sababu faini hizi Bwana Spika ambazo amekuwa akitozwa kwake anaona ni mzaha Bwana Spika, kwa sababu atatoa zile pesa katika akaunti za gatuzi zetu na aweze kulipa Bwana Spika. Anatoa mkono huu na kuweka katika mkono huu Bwana Spika. Nataka kukubaliana na nataka kumpongeza tena Seneta Dulo kwa kazi nzuri ambayo amefanya na ametutolea mwongozo. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, nasema asante.
Senator Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to congratulate you for that communication that you have made, and also congratulate Senator Dulo for escalating this matter to the plenary. As a chair of a committee, I have been seized of this matter, and Mr. Speaker, I am one of those chairs or the leaders of those committees that have gone to Isiolo County to carry out our constitutional mandate. Mr. Speaker, when the Public Accounts Committee landed in Isiolo, we were scheduled to have our meetings at the Isiolo County Assembly. The Speaker of Isiolo County Assembly and the entire membership of the Assembly disappeared, including the clerk. We were only left with the Sergeant at Arms. The Governor, whom we had given notice that the Senate would be coming to Isiolo, was a no-show. Mr. Speaker, even the projects that the committee had come to inspect as part of its constitutional mandate, we could not get access to the projects. Mr. Speaker, one of the projects was a market and a county headquarter. The project manager is a Ministry of Public Works. Even the project manager could not get access to those facilities. Mr. Speaker, it must go on record that when we do what we do in committees, it is not vendetta and it is not pursuit for personal glory or any personal gratification. We are doing it because the Constitution requires us to oversight public resources that have been assigned to county governments. I want to say, having visited Isiolo, that the people of Isiolo deserve proper medical services just like the people of Homa Bay. The people of Isiolo deserve representation at the county assembly just like the people of Kiambu or Moranga or any other county. Mr. Speaker, it is obvious that those things are not happening. But we cannot be a house that laments. Mr. Speaker, I perhaps do not agree that this house should be considering a censure motion against a governor because we have the power to impeach a governor. And so we cannot initiate the process that will lead to that impeachment. But what our clerks must do for posterity is to advise senators on the concept of contempt of parliament. Mr. Speaker, the directions that parliament gives in the event of contempt are still subject to judicial review. And yet contempt of court is not subject to any other review. Contempt of the executive is met with dire consequences. We have put ourselves in a position of weakness, Mr. Speaker, by subjecting issues of contempt of parliament to review of other bodies of judicial review. Mr. Speaker, in other jurisdictions, subpoenas are issued and the Inspector General or the head of the police has a responsibility to execute them. Let us not lament. The Inspector General of Police was vetted by this House.
Order, senators. Senators, order. Let's listen to Senator Kajwang. 1 minute to conclude. Senator Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, the Inspector General of Police was vetted by this House. And someone who's an appointee of the Senate cannot then have the guts to defy legitimate instructions and directions of the Senate. And Mr. Speaker, Senator for Kakamega, Senator Khalwale, has gone down in history as having led a march to the office of the Inspector General of Police. We should never appear helpless. Mr. Speaker, finally, I want to encourage the citizens of Isiolo to go to the County Governments Act and push for a motion for suspension of that county government, because the activities of the governor and the ruling class in Isiolo are contrary to the common good of the people of Isiolo. However, Mr. Speaker, this conversation should not be localized to one governor or to one county. This is a problem that we are seeing across several other counties in the 47 county governments. And we need a solution. We need to strengthen the consequences for contempt of parliament without subjecting them to judicial review. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Ali Roba.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I stand here as a governor who has served 10 years and who has appeared before various committees, including that of Senator Kajwang, severally. One thing, as a governor from my region of northern Kenya, it's a bit embarrassing when you're invited by various committees and consistently you fail to appear, including the committee I chair. The role of oversight committees of Senate is to vindicate you from wrongdoing if you're able to appear and explain the state of expenditure or issues of concern that has been shared. My worry is, what would the governor tell the people of Isiolo County as the reason for failing to appear before various committees of the Senate? And what is it that the governor is hiding so much such that the governor cannot appear before oversight committees of parliament? And what is very unique with this one governor of Isiolo County, Governor Guyo, so that all the other governors having their second term, the first term, are appearing before various committees. However, Governor Guyo finds it impossible to appear before various committees of the Senate. It should be a question that the public of Isiolo needs to ask themselves. What is our governor hiding? Why is it that our governor can't appear as other governors are appearing before oversight committees of the Senate? Because the opportunity to be able to appear and explain issues of concern that has been raised on behalf of the public of Isiolo is an opportunity that any leader, with sound mind at this level of a governor should be able to take that opportunity to freely come without being persuaded to come, unless there is something very serious that he's hiding, or he can't appear because he's ill-prepared to be able to appear. Because now, as you're leading a county and consistently you're being discussed for failing to appear before various committees of the Senate, and that puts you in a very embarrassing situation. I think the direction that the Speaker has given is a sound direction, and all of us need to take advantage of that to be able to make sure that this is enforced on behalf of the people of Isiolo County. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. Senator Eddie Okech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know why the senator of Senator Chimera is very excited today. Senator from Kwale. But that's fine. I think that he must be very excited because I think that the governor for Isiolo has frustrated the House for so many years, Mr. Speaker. And I have witnessed, Mr. Speaker, from my own committee, CPIC, when the governor, first of all, was very reluctant to appear in the committee. But when he eventually appeared, he appeared as if the work that we were doing in that committee were not important, to the extent that it became a very bad exchange, Mr. Speaker. But that said, Mr. Speaker, whenever we invite, because we start with the invitation to governors to come and appear before the committees of the House, Mr. Speaker, and even if we further this by a sermon, Mr. Speaker, most of the time, these invitations are about audit queries. And audit queries, Mr. Speaker, if you look at all the audit queries that we have had, Mr. Speaker, they are there to protect the people of our respective counties from any exploitation of Article 43, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, if a governor doesn't show up and disrespect committees of the House, Mr. Speaker, I think that this is the best definition of a crime. And what I was expecting, Mr. Speaker, is perhaps a guidance to the committees of the respective, the chairs of the respective committees, that they recommend prosecution of such a governor. Because I don't think that having Inspector General of Police bring a governor who is rogue, who is exploiting his people, who is not performing for his people, who is actually wasting the resources of his people, and you want someone to appear before us, and he doesn't show up, just bring him before us doesn't help the people to get their services. Let the chairpersons of these respective committees recommend prosecutions, and let those recommendations come in form of a report to this House. Let us ratify those reports through the process of debates and consideration in this House, and let us forward the recommendations to DPP and recommend a prosecution. And I hope that Governor of Isiolo will be the first one to face the wrath of a House of Parliament that protects the people against such exploitation. So, Mr. Speaker, let recommend prosecution of this governor. I think
Senator Gloria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me first to raise a point of concern, Mr. Speaker, on our systems, Mr. Speaker. We really need to figure out how to deal with this issue of our systems, because we are facing a very important issue tomorrow. And if it happens that every time we are queuing to speak and suddenly the system drops, and then we are subjected to either not offer our views, Mr. Speaker, we will not be doing justice to the people that we present, Mr. Speaker. So I don't know what plans the Secretariat, the Clerk's Office, the people in charge have for tomorrow, but it can definitely not be that when we are ready to speak, the systems drop. It looks a little bit awkward, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of the Governor of Isiolo, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that as a member of the Labour Committee, we actually had summoned the governor because he has allegedly employed over 45 advisors, Mr. Speaker, contrary to what is allowed in law. And you can see the level of impunity. If it is true that indeed he has employed over 45 advisors and he has refused to submit himself before the Labour Committee, Mr. Speaker, we are 100% sure that there's a lot of other monkey business going on in Isiolo, Mr. Speaker. And in fact, when we were issuing the summons of arrest from the Labour Committee, it was in the interest of the people of Isiolo, because if we as a Senate committee cannot trace where the governor is, for sure the people of Isiolo have no clue where their governor is, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I think it is imperative that even in future, if we amend the powers and privilege if we amend the standing orders, that it should be imperative that at the points that the first committee has issued the arrest, a letter from the Speaker's office should just initiate that the culprit be arrested on the spot, Mr. Speaker. So we are looking forward to some action so that we can be able to account for the people of Isiolo. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator James Morango.
Finally. Asante sana Mr. Speaker kwa kunipa nafasi. Kitu ya kwanza ningetaka kusema kwamba ni jambo la aibu kwa sababu aliye gavana wa Isiolo Abdi huyo alikuwa mwakilishi wandi wa Matopeni. Ile wakati pia nilikuwa Matopeni wandi. Wakati pia mimi nilikuwa mwakilishi wandi wa Kerugoya, akawa kiongozi wa wengi na mimi pia nilikuwa kiongozi wa wengi, nikakuja Senate na akawa gavana wa Isiolo. Na kwa sababu tunaamini kwamba ukipitia kutoka wewe ni mwakilishi wandi na umefika mahali ulipo, pia unakuanga umesoma mambo mengi. Na ni vibaya na aibu kuonekana kwamba sasa wale wanaofika kuwa mangavana kupitia mawakilishi wandi ni kama watu ambao pia wanaanza kuvunja sheria. Hiyo ni kutuharibia hata sisi, Mr. Speaker. La pili niseme kwamba seneti tio tingatinga ambayo inatumika kutengeneza barabara mahali kuna mawe na miti, ikimaliza inawekwa kando isiharibu barabara. Tunapokuja huku kupitisha fedha ambazo mangavana wanatumia, lazima kwamba wajue ya kwamba lazima tutafuatilia kuona zile fedha zinafanya kazi. Na kwa hivyo gavana anapoarifiwa kwamba anafaa kufika katika kikao kwa kamati ya seneti, anafaa kwa mapema afike akuja jieleze. Hii sasa inaonekana ni kinaya na pia ni kukosea Senate heshima kwa sababu siku zote hizo wameitwa wamekataa kukuja. Mr. Speaker, niliangalia wakati kulikuwa na kikao ya Speaker ambapo gavana huyo alimutusi seneta wa Narok katika kikao. Na niseme kwamba hiyo si mzaa, sio kitu ya kufurahia. Ni kitu ambayo pia inaonyesha kwamba watu wa Isiolo kama sisi hatuwezi kuwatetea. Watatetewa na nani kwa gavana ambaye ni mkakamavu na amekosa heshima kiwango ya kwamba anaweza kuja kutusi seneta katika kamati. Kwa hivyo Mr. Speaker, ningesema ya kwamba achukuliwe hatua ambazo zinafaa kuchukuliwa, aletwe katika kamati zile zote, na ikiwezekana akuje awekwe ndani, akija kwa kamati anarudishwa ndani, anatolewa kamati hiyo ingine mpaka amalize vikao vyote akiwa mbando wako ndani, kwa sababu akiachiliwa hatujui kwamba atakuja tena ama atatoroka. Asante sana Mr. Speaker.
Alexander Mundingi.
Asante Bwana Speaker, mimi naunga mkono vile maseneta wa county 47 wanaongea kwa sababu mimi nilikuwa mmoja komiti wa REPA. Tumekuwa na kikao mara moja, ya pili, ya tatu, na pia seneta wa Isiolo Mheshimiwa Nduro amekuwa akihudhuria hiyo kikao, na imekuwa na shinda nyingi sana kwa sababu tumekuwa tukimuhitaji akuja anjibu majibu vile ameajiri kazi watu wafanyikazi na vile analipa watu, na amekuwa akuji na nakumbuka wiki jana tulisema aweze kutolewa summon na pia aweze kuangaliwa vile atalipa shilingi 1500. Kwa hivyo naunga mkono governor aweze kutafutwa na mkuu wa polisi aweze kuletwe, na kama ni rais wa Kenya kwa mwaka mmoja huwa anakuja anaongea katika Senate pamoja na Parliament, na pia kama kwa hii kikao ya Senate Bwana Speaker, kila wakati wote siku ya Jumatano kama cabinet secretary huwa anakuja, na katika governor wote wanakuja Bwana Speaker, na governor wa Isiolo hawezi kuheshimu mambo ya Senate. Ningeomba mambo yote machairman wote wa kamati wakae pamoja na kila kamati iweze kutoa mashtaka yake na iandikwe pamoja, na wakati huyo governor ataweza kushukuriwa aweze kuletwa hapa katika kikao ya Senate, akuje akalishwe chini na maseneta 67. Kwa hiyo Bwana Speaker, mimi naunga mkono huyo governor aweze kushukuriwa hatua, kwa sababu najua si tumekuwa hapa kila mara tukiongea mambo ya ukatuzi, tukiongea mambo ya wizara 10, mambo ya hela ya hospitali, mambo ya hela ya wafanyikazi, mambo ya hela hata ya parapara na kila kitu yote, na kama kila wakati wote juu ya tunatetea ukatuzi Bwana Speaker, na ule governor ndiye anafaa ajibu maswali ni kama audit na akuji, tunasunika sana. Kwa hivyo Bwana Speaker, mimi naunga mkono huyo governor aweze kuletwa hapa kwa maseneta wote tuweze kuona vile atachukua hatua. Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika, naunga mkono nikiwa senator wa Embu County. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Chimera.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kwa fursa hii. Bwana Spika, ni kupongeze sana kwa ujumbe huu ambao ni muhimu sana katika uendeshaji wa shughuli za bunge la seneti hili. Bwana Spika, kwa kweli gavana huyu kutoka Isiolo amekuwa donda sugu lisilopona. Bwana Spika, nafikiri mimi mwenyewe ni mwanakamati wa kamati ile ya masuala ya usawa, na bunge hili katika mswada wao wa hali halisi ya taifa baada ya yale maandamano ya vijana wa Gen Z, tuliweza kupewa fursa na nguvu na bunge hili kuweza kuwaita magavana wote ndani ya nchi hii ili kutathmini ni hali gani ama ni jinsi gani wamefanya kuhakikisha kwamba vijana katika nchi hii wanapata nafasi za kazi, wanapata nafasi za ajira, nafasi za biashara katika kaunti zetu. Lakini la kusikitisha ni kwamba gavana huyu wa Isiolo, Mheshimiwa Guyo, nafikiri amekataa katakata kufika katika kamati ile, na ninavyosikia kwamba pia amekataa kuja katika kamati zingine katika bunge letu hili. Ni jambo la kusikitisha Bwana Spika, na niseme kwamba sisi kama maseneta tunapaswa kupeana ilani kali sana kwa magavana kama hawa na wale wengine ambao pia wanapania kutoheshimu amri ya seneti. Jumba hili la seneti kwa mara ya kwanza sasa nafikiri jumba ambalo limepata hadhi yake, lina sifa yake kedekede, na vile vile pia linafuata sheria kuhakikisha kwamba ugatuzi kweli umeonyeshwa katika kaunti zetu kule mashinani. Mimi naomba tu kwa wale magavana ambao wanataka kuenda njia hii ya gavana wa Isiolo, tunawapa ilani ya kwamba sisi kama maseneta, ikiwemo mimi seneta kutoka kaunti ile yangu ya Kwale, hatutalala katika kazi yetu, hatutazembea. Tutahakikisha kwamba wewe kama gavana ambaye unapata fedha ya serikali ya umma kumfanyia mwananchi kazi, utaweza kuwajibika, na ni lazima ufike katika kamati zetu za seneti hili uweze kujieleza, na si kwamba tunakushutumu. Sielewi kwa nini gavana huyu Bwana Spika anaogopa kuja katika bunge letu hili. Nini anaficha ambayo anaona kwamba hawezi kuja kutujielezea Bwana Spika? Mimi naomba hatua kali chukuliwe, kando na yale uliyasema katika ujumbe wako Bwana Spika. Gavana aweze kukamatwa ikiwezekana hata leo, ili aweze kupewa fursa ya kuja katika bunge hili na ajieleza na tuone ni nini anachokificha katika kaunti yake ile ya Isiolo. Asante sana Bwana Spika.
Senator Mofaya.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to support this motion by Senator of Isiolo. Honorable Speaker, I've been around for the last close to 2 years now. I serve in various committees, including being the chair of delegated registration in the Senate. Honorable Chair, I have observed with a lot of dismay that there is purported emergent overrated rivalry between governors and senators for no apparent reason. No, Honorable Speaker, oversight is a constitutional obligation. Senator Duro is not pursuing her own interest for that matter. She is doing what is exactly enshrined in the Constitution. So the governor of Isiolo is not, the rivalry is not between the governor and the senator. The rivalry is between what the Constitution really dictates. That the governor has to obey the summons, the invitation from various committees. And you know, Honorable Speaker, I have observed that quite a number of people who have served as members of parliament, who have served as members of the Senate, who have served as the members of the county assembly, are very defiant and raw when it comes to appearing before Senate committee. I don't know for what reasons. So, Honorable Speaker, I think it's important for us as a house to make some very serious regulations to that matter, because I think if we don't tame these governors, and I know it is very sad, Honorable Speaker, even some of us who are making a lot of lamentation in this house, today, tomorrow, if you become a governor, I will be surprised to see that quite a number of us who might be governors tomorrow might be following the same path. So that's when you're invited in these committees, you just defy, because you know so and so who has been your colleague maybe in the previous regime is the chairman of that committee. So, Honorable Speaker, let's not run away from making sure these things are individual. It's about the Constitution. So the governor for Isiolo, must be compelled to make sure that he appears in every committee in this house. He must be compelled. We have a committee called National Cohesion Integration Commission, which is run by Senator for Marsabit, Honorable Chute. I remember we have filed several invitations for Governor of Isiolo, which has not been observed. He identified all those invitations. So, Honorable Speaker, I think it's important that we make sure that we stamp our authority over these invitations and make sure that we don't dilute the essence and the very best interest of the devolution for the interest of our people in our relevant counties. I support Honorable Speaker.
Senator Tabitha Mutinda.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And let me start by really appreciating Senator for Isiolo, Senator Dulo, for bringing this motion before this House. It's very important. And Mr. Speaker, when I look at the committee that I sit and I serve as the Vice Chair of Finance, we've dealt with the issue of the pending bills for Isiolo, in the sense that when the Senator for Isiolo asked the committee the issue of pending bills for her county, the committee, through the Secretariat, did the needful and wrote to the county of Isiolo. Mr. Speaker, that has been over 1 year, and up to date, Mr. Speaker, the county of Isiolo has never responded on this. As a committee of finance, we summoned the governor, and he gave an excuse indicating that he was hosting a function for Isiolo, a function combined with Marsabit County, among other counties, and that was so much of a priority, unlike appearing to the committee. As we speak, the Finance Committee has summoned the same governor. He's supposed to appear next week, the 22nd of this month, on the same response, and we await. Chances are he might not appear, and it is good we are having this discussion because we have other many matters we want to prosecute. The committee that I also sit in, CPIC, it's true, there was an exchange between the same governor and Senator Ledama, something that, as a committee, of course, was a big disappointment. And after that exchange, Mr. Speaker, the same governor's team, I presume, went ahead to put some of the members of the committee on social media, claiming that the senator of Isiolo was just attacking the governor, and we seemed to be condemning that. An issue that shocked us as members because we do not participate in such matters. And so, through you, Speaker, it would be prudent for the governor to appear before this House to be able to answer, because it seems that all the committees, he has chosen not to appear. So the best solution, even before he appears to other committees, it should be for him to appear before this House and be able to answer to the question of why he has decided to disrespect this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kithuku, do you want to contribute to the allegations made at Isiolo County or the next motion?
This one for Isiolo. Thank you very much, Honorable
And
Speaker.
Senator Mogeni, do you want to contribute to the allegations? Or is it the next motion? Okay, just one moment. Kithuku, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to congratulate the Senator for Isiolo for bringing this very important matter before this House, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to join also the Honorable Senators, my colleagues, in condemning the act done by the Isiolo Senator, who have decided not to be appearing before the different committees that he has been invited severally, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this House is mandated by the Constitution to take care of the devolution and its government. Honorable Speaker, it is absurd to see to it that the Honorable Governor have decided to deliberately not to appear to these committees that he has been summoned to appear so that, Honorable Speaker, he can answer to issues that are affecting the people of Isiolo. Honorable Speaker, I sometimes even fail to understand what is this that the governor is thinking, because the moment now you start to avoid the senators who are mandated by the Constitution to take care of the devolution, then it shows that, Honorable Speaker, that governor is not even aware of what he's doing. Honorable Speaker, I would wish that this House take very serious measures against this governor, because now, Honorable Speaker, the moment now we allow this, other governors who have the same attitude like him, Honorable Speaker, will one day also try to avoid the invitation by the senator. So, Honorable Speaker, I am of the opinion that this House take a very serious measure and discipline this governor who have deliberately decided not to be appearing before various committees of this House, Honorable Speaker. I sit in the Committee of Cohesion. I am a witness that we have been inviting this governor to appear, but he has deliberately refused to appear to answer to issues that are affecting the people of Isiolo, Honorable Speaker. I therefore support and urge this House, Honorable Speaker, to see to it that this governor serves as an example to other governors who has the same attitude like him. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Eric Mugeni.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, we are facing a very bad crisis. That a Senate of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, is this afternoon discussing a conduct of a governor who has refused to respond to summons issued by the Senate. Mr. Speaker, even in the most advanced democracies, you can never, Senator of Isiolo, refuse to respond to summons of a House, more so a Senate. If you look at history, Mr. Speaker, you know what brought down President Richard Nixon. He was given summons by the Senate that was looking into his impeachment. The Senate ordered him to produce tapes that had some information on the Watergate scandal. He refused. He went to court. He waived immunity. The court sided with the Senate and directed President Richard Nixon to tender those tapes to the Senate. And it's the incriminating evidence that was in those tapes that made Richard Nixon to resign. So if a president of a superpower like United States of America can respect summons issued by an equivalent House, Senate of the US, what about this guy called Governor Guyo? I mean, we must rain down on this character. Mr. Speaker, we cannot accept